I really wish I didn't say that shit. It was not worth the trouble. Now I walk into the barber shop and all them black people just be looking at me like, yo, Dave, what's up with your boy? Yo, nigga, yo! Not my boy. Because I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, if you support him or not, any objective person is going to have to admit that this motherfucker is having a terrible go of it. He really is. We've had presidents before that have done bad jobs, but this shit is worse than a bad job. It's scary to watch. Holy shit, it's like seeing a crack pipe in your Uber driver's passenger seat. The fuck is wrong with this guy? Yo, he is lunching, nigga. I watched Donald Trump in a press conference, and this motherfucker had all the media gathered, and this nigga literally asked the media to their face to stop finding shit out. I was like, yo, this motherfucker is bugging. And then, I'm not even making this up, his lips started sweating. His lips. Have you ever seen a motherfucker's lip sweat? What the fuck is wrong with this nigga's lips? It's like if you're on a plane, right? You ever been on a plane? I get scared to fly. I do it all the time. I be scared on there. And sometimes the plane will hit turbulence. And then I get nervous. But I always look at the flight attendant, and she looks calm, and it makes me feel calm. But if that bitch's lips were sweating, it's terrifying. Like, yo, nigga, why are your lips sweating? What do you know? And then, I'm not even making this shit up. This motherfucker grabbed the podium, he goes, you don't know how scary the things I read in my briefings are. And I was like, holy shit, man, you ain't supposed to tell us that, bro. That's bad leadership. Even as a parent, you think I'm gonna sit my kids down? Hey, little man, come here real quick. I just wanna holler at you for a second. Yo, I'm 3 months behind on the rent, nigga, and I am worried. Very worried. Go to school and have a productive day, nigga. I was just thinking out loud, getting some shit off my chest. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? This is bad, man. Jesus Christ. All this motherfucker's ideas sound like high people ideas. Like he doesn't think these things through before he tells us. He just tells us what he's thinking as soon as it occurs to him. This shit sounds nuts. I'm gonna go to China and I'm gonna get those jobs from China and bring them back here to America. For what, nigga? So iPhones can be $9,000? Leave that job in China where it belongs. None of us want to work that hard. What the fuck is he thinking? I want to wear Nikes. I don't want to make them shits. What the fuck are you doing? Stop trying to give us Chinese jobs. I am going to bring back coal. Coal? I'm not even exaggerating. I have never in my life even seen a fucking lump of coal. I honestly don't even know what coal is for. If you're gonna have motherfuckers digging around in the dirt looking for shit, find me some truffles, nigga. That's what I'm about. And these truffle prices are getting out of control. If it gets any worse, I'm gonna be back down to regular butter like everybody else. Terrible, terrible job. This motherfucker hit North Korea with rap battle threats. Fire and fury, like, yo! Yo, what are you doing? It's fucking Korea, man. Kim Jong-un is a scary motherfucker. He might be as crazy as Trump. Some scary shit. And if you one of them naive motherfuckers that thinks that a war with Korea is gonna be easy, then you don't play Call of Duty at 3 a.m. like I do. Because that's when the Koreans play. Fucking 8-year-old Korean kid took out my whole goddamn platoon last night. I've never seen somebody in an office so high with the most just basic fucking solutions. Like, you know, we should not let any more Muslims in the country till we can figure out what's going on. Did he just say, figure out what's going on? Who doesn't know how to do basic math? Let's count it out, okay? There's been 17 mass shootings in the United States. 4 of them were done by Muslims. None of those 4 Muslims were from any of the 7 countries in your stupid ass original band. And since he brought it up, the other 13 shootings were done by the Tiki Torch Whites. These are facts. And you don't see me trying to ban white people from the show to keep the rest of the audience safe. It's a fucking terrible idea because it's mean and it's racist, and most importantly, it would be catastrophic to my bottom line. If there were no white people here tonight, I might leave this bitch with $1,800. This man needs to realize that we all need each other. And that's why we will never, ever be able to beat China. Because everybody in America is racist, and everybody in China is Chinese. This motherfucker called it all wrong. And don't believe the media either, because as all this shit is happening, the media is trying to make us believe that the extremities amongst us are the norms. We can disagree, that's fine. And most of us are keeping a cool head about this shit. You know what I mean? Americans generally respect one another's beliefs, even if they don't share those beliefs. I know I do. I respect everybody's beliefs except Amish people. Because they are the only ones that I can say clearly their God is wrong. The speed limit is 75 miles an hour in Ohio, and 1 lane of traffic is blocked by a goddamn horse and buggy. Nigga, your God is ridiculous. All the Amish people around my way know me too. Not from television, obviously. They know me from the streets. Because when I see them horse and buggies, I'll pull the Porsche over and talk to them. Ezekiel, are you sure that God doesn't want you to have any of this technology or this energy? Huh? Huh? I can't hear you, nigga. Let me turn this air conditioner off. What did you say? And them niggas be like, get away from me, ye. Ye tried to tempt me like the devil. Devil? Nah, bro, I'm trying to put you on to the game, Zeke. It's a big world out here, nigga. I just went 25 miles in 30 minutes. That's a day's journey for you. You don't even know what the weather's gonna be tomorrow, do you? I do. You don't even know that there's a valuable Pokemon right on your shoulder. Beep, ta-ta. Then I drive away. Huh? Oh, my vape pen? You want to hit my vape pen? Oh, sorry, nigga. I'm trying not to get herpes. My bad. I've been playing cat and mouse with herpes for 30 years now, buddy. Every night I go to the club, I'll be like, not tonight, herpes. No disrespect. I'm not saying you have herpes. I'm just saying 1 out of 5 people do. So let's just Let's just all be careful around this motherfucker and make sure that we leave with the lips we came with. He had been growing dreadlocks. Not the beautiful dreads that Rastafarians grow. These were accidental LA homeless dreads. This shit had leaves and sticks and bottle caps and shit in it, some kind of grease. I was like, ugh, like this. And then I fell down. And he knocked me all the way on the ground. And I was like, man, this is a bad situation. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna die or what's gonna happen. But in that moment of vulnerability, you know what occurred to me that had never occurred to me before in my life? In that moment, it occurred to me that bodyguards should not wear dress shoes to work. Travis. This nigga Travis came out slipping and sliding on some kind of beautiful loafer and fell flat on his back. Bop. I said, oh my God. Now both of us are down. I gotta handle this shit myself. So I popped right back, boom. And then the kid that knocked me down, he popped out, boom, and we looked at each other and realized at the same time, I was bigger than him. And that motherfucker took off running. And I started to chase him and I said, fuck him. And I picked the microphone up. So I'm gonna finish this show now. That's right. For 3 months before that, I'd been making fun of Chris Rock. And people would ask me all the time. They'd say, Dave, what would you do if you were Chris Rock and Will Smith slapped you in the face? And to this day, the answer is the same. Well, I don't know what I would have done. I've never been in a situation that extreme. But I do know now what Will Smith would not have done. And that is enjoy the rest of his evening. Man, listen. We gave that kid a good while. We was whooping his ass. Not we, I mean, I was on stage trying to think of a joke to tell, but they was beating this nigga up right behind me. Everybody could see it. Everybody could see it. And I'm sitting up there trying to think of what to say. And I'm tongue-tied. Me, of all people, can't think of anything to say. Look at my karma. Just that moment. Of all the people in the world, Chris Rock walks from backstage, walks up to me in front of 20,000 people, grabs the mic out of my hands and looks at the crowd and goes, was that Will Smith? Man, motherfuckers fell out of their chairs laughing. I was standing there looking stupid. I was fucking furious, because I'm thinking in my mind, nigga, this is my attack. You got attacked 3 months ago. Now you have jokes. So I snatched the mic back from Chris and tried to get one off, but my shit did not go good at all. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, it was a trans man. And the crowd was like, boo. This is LA, we like trans people, boo. I know, I felt so bad. I felt so bad. But I know why I did it. You'd have to be there to understand, but man, when that guy tackled me, it was like it's like a movie or something. You gotta picture this. Picture a famous person you like. Every famous person you could imagine was at that show. It was like the biggest night that Hollywood had ever seen. And when that guy tackled me, he cleared the bleachers. I had to watch the tape afterwards to know this happened, but as soon as he tackled me, Jamie Foxx was the first motherfucker that jumped out of the crowd. He was wearing a white cowboy hat like he knew this shit was gonna happen to him. Never seen this nigga in a cowboy hat before. And Jamie started chasing that motherfucker around like any given Sunday. And that kid was fast as shit, was juking and shaking, and it broke Jamie's ankles, and he just kept running. And then Jon Stewart from The Daily Show ran from backstage and jumped at this motherfucker like Super Jew. He was like, ah! And the kid seen Jon coming, so he jumped back, and Jon went flying that way. And this kid was fast, and then he turned around. He sees the emergency exit. He starts running for the emergency exit. Just before he got to the door, Motherfucking Puff Daddy from Bad Boy Records jumped in front of the door. That nigga was like, Boy, Puffy got that motherfucker. And then every celebrity just ran out because every celebrity saw themselves in me and they just started beating the fuck out of that kid. And I know Chris was backstage looking like, nobody helped me. Everybody hates Chris. Look, it was way more intense than what you guys might have read. I don't know what you read, but the kid, while we was beating on him, reached in his waistband, pulled out a .22 caliber pistol. That shit was mayhem. Everybody started screaming, oh my God, he's got a gun. He's got a gun. And then I got scared. I was in the back, but I was scared because I knew that everybody that was with me was armed. Yes, if they had shot and killed this kid on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, like I pay you to do, Travis. But Travis G'd up. Travis wrestled the gun out of the kid's hand, and then he took it like this and tried to chamber the round, and he couldn't. So he pulled the trigger, and it wasn't a gun. A knife blade popped out of the front. I guess this kid was gonna stab me. Some scary shit. So the next night, even though I didn't have a show, I said, I gotta get right back on stage. And I went and did a show. And someone in the audience screamed out, Dave, what happened with the attack? And I didn't know there was journalists in the room. All I said was that this nigga had a knife that identified as a gun. I got 6 more weeks of bad press for that joke. I didn't even do nothing to this nigga. That is not right. That was not right. And then the New York Post went to the jail and interviewed my attacker like he was some kind of hero. And I read that interview. Turns out the entire attack was my fault. Yes, I triggered him. I didn't mean to. I had done jokes about the homeless. It turns out this young man was homeless. And I mean, there's no way I could have known this. But I will say, for a homeless guy, this nigga had incredible seats. Oh, and they said I triggered him because I had done LGBTQ jokes, and it turns out this fella was a bee. That was the headline in the article. It said, Dave Chappelle's alleged attacker is bisexual. I said, alleged attacker? This motherfucker definitely attacked me. I'll show you the tape. He's allegedly bisexual. I'm gonna need to see him suck somebody's dick before I believe the rest of this article. I read that shit in the paper. I was horrified. I was like, oh, bisexual? I could have been raped. She was sobbing, like sobbing. I said, oh my God, what's wrong with you, bitch? Did you get attacked too? And she's crying. She said, oh my God, David. She said, if you had died tonight, me and the kids would have nothing. Then I knew it was serious. So I sat down on the bed next to her. And I reached in my pocket, I pulled some keys out that she'd never seen before. She said, oh, what are those keys? And I gently placed them in her hands. I said, sweetheart, those are the keys to my safe deposit box. God forbid anything ever happen to me. But if it does, don't even worry about it. You and the kids have everything you need in that box. I've already taken care of it. And she was looking at them keys. And I could see her mind realize what we were actually talking about. And then she just started crying harder. And to be honest with you, that made me cry a little bit too. You know this bitch looked in the box while I'm alive and well? Who does that? Oh my God. And then she was mad at me. She said, God damn it, David, I opened that box. I said, you did? She said, yes, I did. And there was nothing in there. I said, nothing. Oh. She said, nothing. I said, you're stupid joke book. And I said, whoosh. Absolutely. Look. Tell those jokes exactly how they did it. You know, the kids should be fine. They're really good jokes. It's like, good jokes. What is this shit? Come join in my watery drink. No, you gotta roll your throat. Join my watery. It's true. Yeah, one time I thought my wife was cheating on me. Yes. That was one of the worst days of my fucking life. I couldn't take it. And I'm embarrassed about it now, but I can talk about it. You know what I did? Fucked up, but I did this. I have one. In the phone or something. But when I ate more than she's 8, like she was sleeping out. I was looking at her. That's a fact. And when I was sure she was asleep, you know what I did? I stole the iPhone. Look at that stairs stuff. I got open. Couldn't pick up. Yes. Yeah, but shit, man. Things were ready to sound snap. Oh. And that shit opened right up. And I saw a text message in there from a fellow named Earl. I don't know anybody named Earl. I woke her up out of her sleep. I said, wake the fuck up. Who the fuck is Earl? And she said, David, what are you talking about? Oh, don't you play dumb with me, bitch. I don't open your phone. Who is Earl? I said, oh my God. David. It's gay. I said, word, what am I, dumb? How am I supposed to know this thing is Jane? It's just wrong. He said, you need to take it. I'm looking expecting. Sorry. Huh. The fellow sure this little girl will be you alive. And I switched over and looked at his picture. I believe this fellow looked gay. It's good picture. His mouth was open in every shot. And I knew she was telling the truth. And I felt like dumb. I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just go back. I'm sorry. So I just put in skin. And she didn't let me leave. She said, well, since you want to wake a bitch up, and then she pulled my phone from under her pillow. I said, what the fuck? She said, who is this business? I don't know how you open that phone. Well, geez, you don't have to give me math. I know you go like this. And it opened right up. What the fuck? To me.
So on Friday, I decided that I don't want my name on the school. Hear me out. The Ellington family is my family. When this controversy came out, when the students were angry, at the height of their anger, they said, we still want to name the theater after you. They taught the kids about the nuance of art and activism, and to, I feel, a great deal of success. And it came around. So it's not that they did not want to give this to me. They're still my family. And I'm not going to say I don't want it. I'm going to say I'll defer it. Rather than give this theater my name, I would like to give these students my message to them. So it is with great honor that I unveil the new name of this theater, the Gerard Carmichael Theater. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. Let me see if I can get this here. This theater should be called the Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. I want that for myself, and I want it for every student that's educated at this school. And when and if you are ever ready, you can. I was looking at his face before all that disgrace. Then I looked and I said, I could do that. I told my father, and my father said, well, then just do it. That's why I wouldn't even know where to start. And he said, well, look in the phone book. It's before the internet, if you're young. We used to have a book with phone numbers in it. My father found for me the local comedy club in Washington, D.C. I called him. I found out when open mic night was, and I started to go there on Tuesday nights and just watch. And then one night I went on a weekend. I would get my money together and I would go to this comedy club and I would just watch these comedians. And sometimes they would talk to me. And I told one of the comedians after a show one night, I said, man, I really want to try to do this. And he said, he said, if you want to be a good comedian, you should know how to act. I said, why? He says, he didn't explain it. I said, okay, and I told my parents, and this is how I came to find out about Duke Ellington. My mother, she said, there's a place you can go where you can learn to act right here in Washington. It's a high school. I said, you mean I would get out of Eastern? The school year was already in full swing, and Ellington has a policy that they don't let people just come in the middle of the year. But Linda Gravatt, who was the head of the theater department at the time, very graciously took a meeting with me and my mother, and I get emotional thinking about it. Anybody that went here, you remember what it was first like when you first walked through the door? And it was in the afternoon and everyone was in their arts classes and the girls had tutus on and everyone was weird and walking around the hallway like you weren't sure where anyone was supposed to be, and you could hear people practicing their horns and shit all through the hallways. There was art bouncing off the walls. The minute I walked through the door, there was a gallery of all these children's work, and these pictures were amazing. My first thought when I walked through that door, I'm not good enough to be here, I'm sure. Miss Gravatt sat me down, she told me about the school, and you remember Miss Gravatt, she was very businesslike, but also very warm. She was intimidating, but palpably kind. She was a paradox of a human being. And she gave me a date for an audition. My mother said, okay, Dave, it's on you. Now, those of you who know me know that I didn't prepare for that audition. That audition was like a possession. It was just something that I was proud to have. But as the days got closer, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get something together. I didn't even know how to do an audition. I'd never done it before. So I went, I said, what do I need? They said a monologue. So I looked up monologue. And I went to the library, the MLK library, this huge library, so I gotta find something. And I found a piece in one of those yellow script books. It was a monologue by Mark Twain called The Judge's Spirited Woman. I learned it in a night. You know, it was not hard for me to memorize things. The next day, it was a Saturday, I think, and I came to the school, and they auditioned in what used to be this room, the original theater at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And all the department heads sat in here, and the lights are in your eyes, and there's a bunch of kids who already go to the school who come on Saturday just to see who might be coming. And I talked to all these kids before I went in, and these kids were nothing like the kids at Easton. They were like them, but they were different. They were weird and funny and self-deprecating and things like this. And I remember I came out on stage and I did my audition, and it was like terrible. I froze up in the beginning. I started, and then I said, wait a minute, I'm messing up. Let me start again. And I was nervous, and I was scared. And in the middle of the audition, I'm in the middle of the monologue, one of the teachers, Fred Leach, he said, Fred Leach, he goes, okay, that's enough. I said, well, there's still a little more. He goes, no, that is enough, he said. And I can't tell you, like, I was crushed. Without saying his disapproval, I knew it stunk. And I was right. When I walked in here, I knew I wasn't good enough to go to this school. And I thought to myself, fuck this school, that's stupid anyway. In first year theater, there's a question that they ask students from time to time. And it's a make or break question. And when you ask this question, you don't know. And the question is this. They say, why do you want to act? Now, if you say anything like, I want to be a star, you're not going to get in. I didn't know that. And I figured I already blew the audition, so I told him the truth. He said, why do you want to act? I don't. That's what I said. And they said, well, then why are you here? I said, because I want to be a comedian, and some comedian told me that if I want to be a good comedian, I need to learn how to act. And the teachers look at each other and go, thank you very much, and I left. And I was walking down the hallway, kicking rocks. There was a kid that already went here. His name was Eko Handy. And Eko said, hey, man, I listened to him talking about you. I said, you did? He said, you're in. I said, what? He said, you're in. Well, it didn't make any sense. I worked very hard, not to get his approval, but to avoid his disapproval. When we were coming up, they had a thing called juries. I don't know, do they still do juries? Juries is when all the department heads give you a piece to work on, and they sit there and they make you perform the piece, and the criticism is brutal. We were kids. We didn't understand that they were preparing us for a hard world ahead. If you wanted a profession in art, they would tear us to shreds. The stress of a jury. And man, I never practiced. Because I didn't want to act. At an improv class, a teacher named Geraldine Gilstrap told me that I should stop doing funny pieces, that I should try to stretch myself artistically. And maybe I had more in me than comedy. And at the time, I took offense to that. So because she said that, after school that very night, I went to comedy club. The first time I signed the list, and I waited, and I got on and killed it. Killed it. Must have been 35 years ago, night after night. I killed it. Show up with the platoon. Crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought himself as an artist. I was an addict. I was a god of food. It was like pictures that I could paint with words, the way I could engage with the audience. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And I wasn't willing to accept it. So I quit. And when I quit, it was a very difficult time in my life. And I'll spare you the details. But man, fuck show us some stuff. And then one day I was in Panama City, Panama, and I was at a hotel, and I looked at the lobby, and it was a painting of Abraham Lincoln. And I was looking close, it wasn't a painting, it was all pennies, just pennies on black canvas, arranged into the place of Abraham Lincoln. And I asked the guy, I said, how much is that painting worth? He said, $600,000, sir. And I looked at the pennies that made up the painting, and I was like, that's like $300 worth of pennies. Light bulb went in my head. I realized valuable. Some of the biggest wars and crimes and scandals in history were financed. It's about art is powerful commodity. And artists who get good at it never behave. It's a commodity. Tough thing. And then I gave up. I said, this is probably it. I accepted the fact that the career I thought I was going to have was over, but I started to rediscover just my heart for its own sake. I go to comedy clubs, and I worked for way less money than I ever had, and I enjoyed it more than any work I ever did. Tried the best work I'll ever do. It was so honest, so sincere. There was no media, there was no studio, there was no spooking, just me and the crowds. And I put it right after right, and some of the short cups. And then suddenly people started to notice, and all started to see that I could near. At the end, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. And then, Lauren Michaels asked me to do Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just like he asked me. He's poetry. I didn't even know. He gave me this whole long speech. Okay. And I read some book about Lauren Michaels starting Saturday Night Live. And I read the speech that he gave at the prior when he wanted him to host the show. And I said, holy shit, same shit he said to me. When I did it, there was an enormous amount of pleasure. It's been 12 years since I've been on television, since I even talked to India. And I remember I signed my massive contract on my way to my mark for the monologue. If you do live television, they count down every second. 30 seconds. Are you sure this contract is good? It's good, just sign it. 22 seconds. Oh, nigga, you better not be picking me. 10, 9, 8, 36, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I walked out on that stage and I showed it. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's easy work. Got an Emmy for that one, too. Okay. Before I did Killing Them Softly, when I was 22, HBO gave me the biggest opportunity of my life at that time. They gave me a half-hour special, but this shit was not like a special, you know what I mean? It was like, it was generic. It didn't even have a title. It was just Dave Chappelle. And I shot it in San Francisco at a place called Broadway Studios, which is on the second floor of a building. And beneath Broadway Studios is a nightclub. And the special was only supposed to be 30 minutes. And I got ready, I practiced, I did all the shit I was supposed to do. And the night that I taped, 20 minutes into my 30-minute set, I'll never forget this, music started blasting from the nightclub underneath. You could hear it real loud, and it fucked my whole show up, and I was devastated. I was a young man. I really believed in what I was doing, and I thought that my dream had been killed. So when I got off stage, I ran down the steps to the alley behind Broadway Studios and where the control trucks are parked, and I kicked that motherfucking door open, and I started yelling at all the producers. I was nobody in show business, just a guy that believed in us. I said, man, you fucked everything up. That fucking music, what the fuck were you thinking? And there was a guy who was a big-time producer, I ain't saying no names, and he stood up, and he said, hey, kid, sit the fuck down. He said, we didn't ruin anything. He said, we made a deal with that nightclub to not play music, and they didn't honor the deal. And I said, who didn't honor the deal? And he pointed to a guy. I'll never forget it. It was an old white man sitting in the Ford Taurus by himself. And he said, that guy right there. And I didn't waste no time or ask no questions. I went to that Ford Taurus and I beat on that window and I said, open the door, motherfucker, I want to talk to you. And that old man looked at me for 1 second and wisely drove the fuck off. And left me in the alley cussing at anybody who would listen. And 2 minutes later, literally 120 seconds later, couldn't have been any more than that, the doors of the kitchen in the alley of that nightclub underneath Broadway Studios flung open. And that old man was standing there, that same old man with reinforcements. He had 2 big goons with him, and he looked at me, and he was calm as a cucumber. He said, you, come here. I want to talk to you. I didn't know anything about the streets at this age. But I found out later in my life that these men were Russian mobsters. And I don't know what you guys know about the Russian mob, but these are the niggas that killed Denzel in Training Day. And all the producers knew what I was up against. They said, Dave, do not go in there. And I said, fuck y'all. And I walked right into that kitchen, and they closed the doors behind me, and it got dark as fuck in there. And I knew, I'm not dumb, I knew I was in a bad situation. But you have to understand, I believed in what I was doing, and I didn't give a fuck. Just kept cussing at these motherfuckers, telling them how they ruined my life. And that old man couldn't believe that I was talking all of this shit. And as soon as I took a breath, he stopped me gently. He said, hey, kid, listen. Your friends lied to you. He said, we made a deal, but your friends never paid me. And when he said that, I realized I was locked in the kitchen. I realized he was telling the truth, which would make me wrong. And the very moment that I realized I was wrong, for the first time, I was afraid. You see, it's a funny thing if you believe you're absolutely right. You can get drunk off the feeling of how right you are. That's why gay people are so mean. But I didn't buckle. You guys would have been very proud of me. I was scared, but I didn't buckle. I said, well then, sir, I owe you an apology. But I believe that no matter what reason that music was playing, it ruined my life. And that old man looked at me with sympathy in his eyes. And he walked over to me and he gently placed his hand on my cheek, which I gotta tell you, is a very emasculating thing to do. I was standing there looking at this nigga's hand on my cheek like,
And he said, "You are a real man." And he tapped me on my cheek. Real soft. Just like that. The doors opened back up. The light from the alley flooded into the kitchen. And I just walked out alive. I lived to fight another day. And in that moment, I learned one of the most valuable lessons of my life, and I have to share it with you. And that lesson is this. In your life, in any given moment, the strongest dream in that moment wins that moment. I am a very powerful dreamer. Yeah, I'm not lying. I dreamed tonight, this very night, as a 14-year-old boy, and I am living it as a 50-year-old man. My dreams are very strong. Today, I walked all around Washington. I used to be poor in this city, and all day people just said, hey, Dave, like they knew me personally, and I felt like I knew them. And I say to myself, my God, Dave, what a powerful dream. But then sometimes I feel regular. Just feel like myself. Maybe I'll smoke some weed and be in some nightclub and feel shy. But I'll look across the nightclub and I'll see some guy that no one's ever heard of. But this nigga worked all week and got bottle service. And his bitches bringing Moet with sparklers to him. I picture in my mind he's Persian. He's doing some kind of weird Persian dance. And he got 6 bitches at his table because he got so much liquor. And they all call him saying, go Cena, go Cena. And I'll be looking across the room like, oh my God, I'm in that guy's dream. I can hear him telling his friends, hey, how was the club last night? Man, that shit was fantastic. I had bottle service. I seen Dave Chappelle across the club looking at me like, ooh, who was that? And that's the trick to life. You have to be wise enough to know when you were living in your dream. And you have to be humble enough to accept when you're in someone else's. It's why I don't judge between Will Smith and Chris Rock. Because you guys look at them as big ideas, but I look at them as fellow dreamers. I can't judge between them because I see myself in both of them. I am Will Smith. I am the man that cannot take it anymore and will slap the shit out of the next person that says a crossword to me or somebody that I love. And I am Chris Rock. I am the man that can get slapped in front of the whole world and keep my composure so I don't fuck anything up. That is what men do. Men make boundaries. Men enforce boundaries, and men test boundaries. And no man tests more boundaries than a trans man. When I see a fellow dreamer, I give them my utmost respect. Even if I don't understand what their dream is. I know a dreamer when I see one. And I've met many powerful dreamers in my life. None more powerful than a man who calls himself Little Nas X. I met this nigga at a party. I had no idea who he was. But the minute he walked in that party, I knew I was in his dream. Everybody in the party was another dreamer. Everyone was famous, but when that nigga walked in, he was dressed like C-3PO. He was shining. And everyone was like, oh my God, there he is. That's Little Nas X. I didn't know who he was. And for some reason, out of all them dreamers, he walked right up to me. And he said, I tried to get you in my video. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I said, what? What video? And he just looked at me like, you know what video, and walked away. And I watched him walk away. I said, man, this nigga's having a very powerful dream. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when we was in grade school. Remember in grade school, the teacher would ask everybody what they want to be? Timmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Timmy acted like he had an idea. He'd stand up, he'd say, I want to be a fireman. And the teacher would say, Timmy, that is a beautiful dream. But Timmy didn't mean it. Timmy said he wanted to be a fireman because deep down, Timmy's attracted to fire. And by the time he's 14 years old, this nigga's a full-blown pyromaniac, playing with kerosene and matches like a goddamn expert. And then one night he goes downtown with his buddies, fucking around with fire, and burns a warehouse down. And he doesn't know it, but there's 13 migrant workers from El Salvador, and they're in that motherfucker. They get trapped, and then they die in the fire. Isn't that a tragedy? It was an accident. He's only 14 years old, but he's black. So they try him as an adult. And Timmy ends up spending the rest of his life in jail. Dream deferred. Burp, burp. What about you, Billy? Billy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Billy stands up and he says, I want to be president of the United States. And the teacher says, oh my God, Billy, that is a wonderful dream. And Billy means that shit. Billy does everything right. That motherfucker gets his grades up. He joins student government. He even does extracurricular activities like show choir just to make his resume look good. He's on track to be president, but junior year he wipes. When he's 16, he gets his girlfriend pregnant and has to drop out of high school to make ends meet. But lucky for him, the local Walmart's hiring. By the time he's 20 years old, this motherfucker makes assistant manager at Walmart. He's the youngest one in the district. He says, oh my God, if I can keep this up for 4 more years, I could be a manager. And if I can keep this up for 6 more years after that, I could even be a regional manager and have as many as 3 Walmarts under my control. And he's a big picture guy. He sees where this path is going, so he kills himself. Well, what about you? What do you want to be when you grow up? I don't want to say, because I don't want the other kids to laugh at me. Who cares if they laugh? Your dream is yours. Own your dream so they can come true. Say it loud and proud. What do you want to be when you grow up? Little Nas X. That nigga stood up in front of the whole class. I want to be the gayest nigga that ever lived. I want to do a music video and slide down a stripper pole all the way to the depths of hell and suck the devil's dick at 10 o'clock on BET while all the kids are awake and can see me. Shockingly, that was the only dream that worked out. That's why I'm here tonight in the city where I built the dreams that I live. Because I wanted to tell you all that they came true. And I wanted to thank you all for making the man that I am today. Yes, I am living a very powerful dream. Every time I come to this city and I stand in front of you, I realize that, my God, man, this is not my dream at all. It's yours. And I am honored to be in it. Thank you very much, Washington, D.C.